Now I must admit, the only Street Fighter I've ever played before this is the demo of Hyper Fighting on Xbox Live Arcade, and a few seconds of the original Street Fighter 2 in my local arcade back when I was 9, and those sessions were so boring to me, so agonizingly hard that I just stuck to button mashing, gave up, and decided to save my quarters for a more accessible fighting game like Tekken. Since I really had no experience to judge games back then, I decided to try out the latest iteration of the Street Fighter 2 series, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo HD Remix, coming from the Japanese developer Backbone Entertainment. There was a lot of hype for this game, and it was only about $15, so I figured I'd give it a shot. The developer hyped the game to be more accessible and easier for beginners to pick up than previous iterations in the series. Unfortunately, this is an instance where the developers are lying to us. There are two modes in the game: HD Remix, the mode that supposedly has easier controls and balancing fixes, and Classic Mode, the mode where there wasn't anything changed from the original game besides the graphics.
You win!
So the first thing I did was go into Classic Mode so that when I went into HD Remix I'd be able to see the fixes clearer. I got halfway through Arcade Mode before getting tired of seeing my ass handed to me and switched over to Remix, praying to God that the developers' promises would be fulfilled. This is where I learned the horrible, horrible truth that Backbone Entertainment didn't change a bloody thing. Sure, some of the controls are switched around, but the moves are no easier to do than in Classic Mode or in the Hyper Fighting demo. The moves where you slide the stick in certain ways are easy enough, but the moves requiring you to hold down a direction for a ridiculously long amount of time can only be pulled off against the most idiotic of opponents, and the moves like Ryu and Ken's Horyuken uppercut, which requires a very specific little zigzag of the stick, are very hard to actually figure out how to do. I was never able to use these moves in an actual fight, just in practice mode, because there I could afford to get it wrong a few hundred times per uppercut. At first I was going to cut the game a little slack because I thought that it might be easier if I had an arcade stick, but then I remembered that if an original game that releases on Xbox Live Arcade requires a separately bought $80 peripheral that can in no way be packaged with the game, the developer deserves to be strung up by his toes and have his moronic skull slowly dipped in liquid nitrogen until he's prematurely bald.
You win!
Okay, maybe I'm overreacting, but it is quite frustrating watching a developer promise something then not deliver on it at all. The graphics have all been redrawn from their original sprites, and I must admit, it looks very nice. In still images. The first thing I noticed about the game when I started playing was that Backbone had delivered on upgrading graphics, but the animation remains as jerky and unpleasant to watch as ever. When asked about this, Backbone replied that they wanted to keep the animations the same for the sake of timing. That's okay, I respect your desire to keep the timing, but filling in the animation won't affect that in any way. There are very few frames in any given attack, so why can't you fill the gaps between frames without making the attack times longer? My theory? Laziness! That would take a lot of time, wouldn't it? And we wouldn't want poor Backbone Entertainment to spend a little more time on the game to make it better, now would we? God forbid they actually do a game remaker's job well. The online play is competent, but still suffers from the same problem that all online fighters have. Every time you lose, you have to let the next guy fight the winner while you get the back of the line. And since these rooms can contain quite a few players, you could end up waiting your turn to come again for a very long time. My simple solution to this is that if you let the players in the room who aren't fighting either spectate or go into practice mode until it's their turn again, thus alleviating the boredom. I'm sure there are loads of excuses that developers can use to shoot this idea down, but there is no way a developer can look at their game and think, people like standing in line, right? I think so. Let's put that into our game. As far as lag goes, the game is silky smooth. I never experienced one bit of slowdown when I was playing online. Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo HD Remix is a game for the hardcore Street Fighter players, the guys who count frames and own arcade sticks. If you're a newbie to the Street Fighter series, do not start with this game. Hell, if you're a newbie to the Street Fighter series, there really isn't a good game to start with, since everyone playing the game now has been playing since it came out and will hand your ass to you on several different platters complete with spoon, fork, and salad fork. I suppose some of the pain might be lessened if you already have an arcade stick from Soul Calibur 4 or something, but if you don't, then I would only recommend this game to hardcore Street Fighter players, and since those guys probably own 3 different versions of the game already, this game won't add much besides upgraded graphics and a lag-free online play. Since I'm not a hardcore Street Fighter player, I have to review this game from a newbie's point of view, and from a newbie's point of view, this game isn't worth 15 bucks. Hell, it isn't even worth 5. Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo HD Remix gets a well-deserved D-. However, that's not all. While statistically this game is absolutely horrid from a newcomer's point of view, it does keep bringing you back for more in a strange way. I still go back to the game once in a while to play a bit more practice mode to try to get the complex moves down. So while technically this game deserves every bit of its D-, it has a strange pull to it that keeps nagging you to come back for more.